Okay. Good morning, Tristan.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I am exhausted. It's been a long day. So my partner and I left at we left home at about 4:30 in the morning to get on a plane because we've headed to Adelaide. So we've had a nice day in Adelaide today.
Okay.
First time we've been on a plane for a long time.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nice to have you here with us. I think we've started with some technical difficulties already because because it says on the Facebook page, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. So if you go on to
I can see, actually, Alicia, I can see that we've just gone live.
We've just gone live.
We have.
Okay, in that case then, hi everyone. I'm Alicia. I'm here for the minute with Tristan, who's hopefully helping me with the tech side. But yes, the plan this morning is to be talking to you about intelligibility and clarity, which for those doing the OET, you know, that is the first speaking criteria. So hi, Tristan. So Tristan, first I'm going to check with you. From your end, does everything look well? Is everything going well?
Looks smooth, looks excellent. We've got 177 so far viewing with us.
Okay,
and I can see it going up.
Okay, so in a minute, I'm going to screen share. I just wanted to check that I know where the questions are going to be streaming at me from. Tristan, just confirm with me when I do start to ask questions, where will the questions be popping up? Because
if you jump onto the Facebook post, you'll see everyone's starting to say hello to us all. And I'll send you through the link to see that one as well.
Yeah,
I might jump off and leave it to you.
Yeah, just send me through the link because I really want to answer people's questions. For those of you who said hi for me, I really want to get you guys questions, and I do think, oh, here they are. I'm seeing them. Someone said, are you accepting new students already? I think I have it. How much does this school cost? So people have jumped right in with the questions. So I think I know where everyone is. Is this the right page, Tristan? Where I'm seeing the questions here, are you accepting new students and where are you located?
Yes, that will be the one.
In that case, I am under control. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Okay. So this is now the official start to the webinar. Once again, hi everyone. I'm Alicia from Banfields Academy. I'm one of the premium preparation providers for the occupational English test. And today, the focus is going to be on the first speaking criteria. Once again, intelligibility and clarity. Now that's quite a mouthful to say. So actually there's a short word I'm going to be using today called diction. D-I-C-T-I-O-N. It's easier to say, it's easier for second language learners to understand, but basically it's the same thing, making sure that when you speak, you are clear as a bell. So one of the questions I'll answer is, where am I located? I am in northern Germany at the moment. This is where I live. This is my second home. And for those of you who are wondering, I am not a native German. I in fact come from the Caribbean, from Barbados. But I've been living here for quite a while. So German is my second language. And Spanish is my third language, so actually I can also relate to people who have to learn a foreign language to live and work in another country because I have been there. Are we accepting new students? And the answer is yes. There are actually lots of exciting things happening with our school, but this morning it's not about us, it is about you and intelligibility and clarity or diction. So on that note, give me 1 second and I will start to screen share. So hopefully, so first, I think I'm going to share with you my beautiful little bird. I think that's what's going to happen. Oh, beautiful little bird, hummingbird, bird of paradise. And now I'm going to start my PowerPoint presentation. Here we go. So how it's going to run today is like this. I'm going to spend maybe the first 15, 20 minutes just walking you through the important highlights in the first speaking criteria. And then we're going to close the PowerPoint and I'm going to go and start answering your questions. Okay, so let's start going through. So OET defines intelligibility, and I put best there in brackets because the maximum marks you get for this criterion is 6, and you want to be shooting for 6. And OET's focus and definition in their criteria is, in their descriptors, is pronunciation that is easily understood. And whether you use stress, intonation, and rhythm effectively to convey your message. And my third point there is accent has no effect. Accent is not important. OET and the examiners expect you to have an accent. We all have accents, but it is possible to have an accent, sometimes even a strong accent, and still be very clear with what you're saying so that your listener has no problems understanding you. So by pronunciation, what are we talking about? We're talking about the syllables in your words being clear, maybe not distinct from one another. We're not talking about speaking like a robot. Because in English, when you speak naturally, you do flow your words together. But to make sure that the sounds of your words are clear, because unfortunately in English, there are many words that sound alike. And sometimes if you mix them up and your diction or your pronunciation is not clear, it confuses the listener. Stress is important because in English, it is not just what you say, it is how you say it. So as an example, I just used stress to focus you on where I wanted you to go. I wanted you to understand that it isn't what, but it's how. Okay, intonation is important because you do not want to be using the same tone to be giving people, for example, in your role play, good news versus bad news. Again, you're not a robot. I'm sorry to tell you, but your illness is not getting better. Versus the good news is your results look really well and we can help you. The good news is, so this is what they mean by intonation. What you are saying, your tone and intonation should match what you're saying, because listeners in English, they get a lot from that as well. And when we talk about rhythm, again, you are not a robot. Do not speak like a robot. Your language flows smoothly when you're speaking easily about something. It may go a little more slowly when you're emphasizing and so on. So pace, however, is different. You see here, pace. Some people naturally speak quickly, some naturally speak slowly. I tend to speak a little more slowly because teaching language and communication is my profession, and I'm dealing with language learners, so I tend to slow down. But my natural speech when I'm talking to my family is tend to speak very quickly, and that is normal because where I come from, this is how we speak naturally, okay? And volume is your voice too high or too low. Again, people have a natural volume. My voice tends to be loud, it carries. I'm accustomed to speaking in the classroom. But some people are more soft in their volume, but you want to be sure that your voice is not dropping all the time, very slowly, softly, so that the listener has to be, what? What are you saying? Okay. So bottom line, when it comes to what you're saying, your stress, your rhythm, all of it together, there should be what you see here, little or no strain on the listener. And this is what the examiner is listening for, okay? Which brings us now to the examiner. Oh, sorry, before that. The examiner, you do not want your examiner to have any of these faces or any of these thoughts while they are listening to your audio. You don't want the examiner to be thinking, oh my God, I have no idea what this candidate just said, for whatever reason. You're too soft, or the words are all mushed up, or whatever. You don't want them to be wondering about your tone and intonation. Are you asking a question of the patient, or are you giving the patient an answer? What? For example, how I just did it. I was asking a question. Are you asking a question? My voice goes up at the end, okay? Or generally, because of just how you speak, your language isn't flowing smoothly in the role play. You're showing you're not even comfortable with the role play. You don't want them to be thinking, honestly, if I were your patient, I would not be feeling too confident right now. So you don't want the examiner at any point during your audio to have these thoughts, okay? This is what you want. You want the examiner to be listening to you and thinking, clear diction, and that's the word I mentioned at the beginning, diction, clear diction, good grammar and vocabulary, an empathetic and informative professional. So what you say, how you say, if you're covering all the information on the role play card, or as much as you can in the 5 minutes, and thinking, now that's great communication. So this is the examiner this is what you want the examiner to be feeling and thinking as they listen to your role play. Okay. You don't want the examiner to ever be making this face. So mumbling, and for mumbling, I mean, yeah, well, you know, I have to do this and blah, blah, blah. No, clearly, okay? You don't want to be speaking and then dropping your voice again, so the examiner can't hear you because the voice is cold. The examiner, it's a strain on the listener. Can't distinguish similar sounds. And actually, we're going to go on to look at some of the common sounds that second language learners have a problem with when they're learning English. And as I said, you don't want a flat tone giving good and bad news. Hello, yes, you are getting better. Hello, no, you're not getting better. No, you want it to be varying. You want the examiner, both based on how you say it, to understand you're asking a question, to understand you're giving information, to understand you're giving good news, but to understand that you're expressing empathy and sympathy as you give bad news. So clear pronunciation of all your words, not just the beginning of your sentence or some words. A natural rhythm, again, you're not a robot. And your intonation that matches what you're saying. Are you asking a question? Or are you saying you really should do so-and-so? Stress. The good news is, good news, you lift your voice. Bad news, unfortunately, and your voice goes down. Okay. So now we come to the examiner and your audio. Now, normally, you know, when you speak with your friends or you're in the classroom with your teacher is seeing you, your friends are seeing you, and there are lots of visual cues that you get, that the listener gets from you. Unfortunately, yes, you are sitting down speaking to the interlocutor who is on a screen with you if you're doing computer-based testing, or who is in the room with you on the other side of the table if you're doing an in-person test. But the examiner does not see you. They don't know you. All you are, I'm sorry to say, is a number and an audio. So your voice is your tool, it is your weapon, and you have 5 minutes to use your voice to impress them that you understand what's going on and you are using not just the language, but showing you understand the function of the language. So your words are clear in vocabulary, tone, and meaning, and you're easy to listen to, bottom line. But also remember that the examiner is a human being. Now, a person. They're very well trained. These are professionals. This is their professional, but they're human beings, which means they get tired at the end of a day. They get headaches listening to dozens of role plays and candidates day in, day out. And who knows, maybe they subconsciously compare you to the 25 audios they listened to before you. So you don't want to come at the end of the day, just after a candidate that really wowed them, and they're going, oh, after that, no, I'm really straining to listen, okay? So you're thinking now, yeah, but there's some things about my speech that I just can't help. So will it affect my grade? Will it affect my 6 marks, my 6 points for the intelligibility criteria if I have serious problems saying some words because they just do not exist in my native language? Maybe you speak Arabic, Urdu, Hindu, Spanish, German, Mandarin, or Cantonese. They have their sounds in English that just do not exist in your language. How do you work with that? Suppose I confuse similar sounding words. Will that affect my grade? It may, if the words you are using can change the meaning of what you're saying. And this is why it is important to sometimes even practice words. And again, we'll come to some of those words later. Practice words that you know you have trouble with, you often have trouble with when practicing your role plays. And the same thing goes for the first point. You have serious problems saying some sounds. Practice, practice, practice. I'm sorry, there's no secret weapon. Practice. I stutter or cluster my words when I get nervous. You are a human being. So in the exam, you're doing your OET, you've prepared for this for a while, you're anxious, you're nervous, you don't know the interlocutor. It's natural. And for some people, maybe they naturally have a stutter or they cluster their words. That means they put all their words together. They just mash them together. Maybe you do that. Maybe you do that in your native language, which means you're also going to do it in English. This is why you need to prepare properly, do different kinds of role plays, and listen to yourself. There is a little trick that I will share with you that I use because I have had students with natural stutters and clustering of words. And there is a thing that anyone in the audience who does music, they'll know about. It's called a metronome. It's basically like a little timer. You can now download them on your phone and set a rhythm. And what I do is with my students who have rhythm problems and clustering and stuttering, I give them a little practice exercise. Find a text that you can read. It doesn't have to be medical English or OET materials. It can be, but anything you enjoy reading. Find a quiet 10 minutes at home, sit back, turn on your metronome and read this English aloud. Not quietly in your head, read it aloud, but keep the rhythm of the metronome in your head. Tick, tock. have it. So what it does is you resist the urge. When you speed up, you notice that you go out of rhythm with the metronome and you slow back down again. As a matter of fact, sometimes in class with students, we'll be doing a role play, and when I notice that they are clustering or stuttering, I'll actually do this, and it kind of reminds them. And I laugh because I say to them, now you're going to be sitting in your role play and you're going to be talking, and in your head is going to be this image of silly Alicia going like this in front of you. But this is not an exam technique. This has to do with your speech pattern. You have let's move on to the next point. You have a flat tone naturally. Unfortunately, yes, there are some people, this is just their natural pattern. And when you speak to them in their native language, you hear it. Practice, again, recording yourself, listening back to yourself, working with your teacher. Okay, saying to your teacher, how is my tone? Is my intonation good? Please give me tips. Help me understand how I can improve my intonation. Or you might say, have little quirks of your language, say like a lot or okay. I must admit, I'm one of these people who says okay often. How do I stop? Practice. Being aware that you do it, you record yourself speaking naturally with a friend or doing a role play with a partner, listening back to yourself because you never sound how you think you sound, listening back to yourself and really breaking down what you're hearing under these points. Do I do this? And spend a little time focusing on that. Do I do this? And so on. So now we come to some sounds that people learning English as a second language often confuse, or they find them hard to pronounce, or quite frankly, they find them hard to hear when they're listening to other people. Now, listening to native speakers speaking English in a natural way can sometimes, it's a double-edged sword, as we say. It's good because we speak English naturally, and you've got to be able to understand it. Your patients are going to speak to you at a natural pace with natural language. They're not going to slow it down for you. But the bad side of that is there are lots of sounds that we as natural speakers, we just don't say. We just run them together, or they disappear. They're called disappearing syllables. We just don't say them. But we know they're there. If we come to write them, we know to write them, but we don't say them. So let's take a look at a few. So th. The th sound gives some natives, some foreign language speakers, in other words, some non-English speakers, a problem. Because it's a weird sound. We take t and h, and somehow we come up with th. But th is a very common sound in English. The, these, them. So practicing how you say it. How do your muscles move to make this sound? So I'm going to turn my head so you can see how my lips makes this sound. Okay. So the sound, your tongue is just between your teeth and your lips are relaxed and you're saying the sound th. And as the air comes out, your tongue pulls back. Th, th, th. So you need to practice saying that. If there's a letter that comes before it, so a common word, with. Now there's a temptation to say wit or wid or whiz if you can't say that th sound, but with. And this time the tongue stays between the teeth because the the vowel sound comes before and you're ending on the th. With. Okay. Then, oh, I'm sorry, this is a typo. This says G, but it's supposed to be V. My apologies, I didn't pick that up. So ignore this. I will correct it before I and reshare it maybe with OET. The V sound, and I emphasize that because I have a lot of German students, and they, oh, that was very naughty of me. Tell you what, I wonder if I can take a minute and actually correct it. Yes, let me take a minute and actually correct it. There we go. And for a minute there now, you're seeing my bird again. Okay, so now we're back. Good, so I've corrected it. So now we're looking at V versus W. And as I said, our German, my German students often have a problem with these sounds because German has the same letters, but they're pronounced differently. So the W sound is w, w. It's a very, very broad sound. W, wary, worried. So tell me exactly what you're worried about. Okay, so in this way, we can help you with both getting better and staying well again. Okay, our goal is to get you well and keep you well. Whereas V is, think of a Formula One car and you're revving it up. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Very. Okay, so your headaches were very severe, I take it. Okay, I could understand why you're very worried about this. So let's see what we can do to get you well again. All right. Now, G is another issue because G has two sounds. So just remember as you are working with your teacher on your pronunciation to be aware that sometimes the G has a very hard sound, like girl. So we are going to put you, I am going to refer you to a dietitian. I am going to refer you to a gynecologist. Or it can have a softer sound, generous. Okay. So what other word is there in G? Just be aware of it. And then there is this, GU. Now it is a weird thing to pronounce because sometimes you say the U, and sometimes you don't. So here, for example, inguinal, say someone has a hernia. Sir, just to let you know, Mr. Smith, your problem is that you have an inguinal hernia. So here you pronounce the G and the U. Whereas here, you pronounce guess without the U. Yes, I guess that we could look at it that way. All right, I guess we can wait a couple of weeks, see how it goes, and then try referring you to a gastroenterologist. Okay. And J can also often be confusing because it can sound, quite frankly, like the G, just generally. And why are they two separate words? I have no idea. English sometimes is very confusing. The spelling is, anyway. Isk. Now it's kind of silly because you've got the S and then the K, isk. So brisk. Okay, so you're talking about exercises. Brisk walks are good, right? Now you don't want to say brisk. Okay, brisk walks are good. Pronounce the K. And PH is honestly quite easy to pronounce because PH sounds just exactly like F. Exactly. All right, so just remember that. An, began, ran, stan, as opposed to un. Remember, began and begun are two different words. So just make sure your pronunciation is clear. And this may or may not come up in your speaking role play, but it's an odd syllable in English as well, because even though it's got all those letters, look at all those letters, we actually say it as one syllable, but it sounds weird. Clothes, oats, oats. It's a very strange sound, and it's one you really do have to practice. So you say your clothes are getting tighter, not close, like close the door, but clothes. And you do say the TH, but it's so quick. The tongue just goes in and comes back up, clothes. All right. So those are some word syllables to practice. Then we come to similar sounding words. And these, especially if there's one takeaway that you have from this webinar, is these words, because they're very, very common. They are going to come up at some point in your practice, probably also in your role play. And that's why I put them on this card. Chair, chair, cheer, but share. So you don't want to be talking about, I will share information with you, and it's sounding like cheer and cheer. I will share information with you. No, you won't. You will share information. Triggers, trigger versus trickle. So are there any triggers? Are there any triggers for your headache? Okay, not trickle. Where, as in where did you get your information, as opposed to where. So we're going to start you on X medication or Y medication, or we're going to refer you to a physiotherapist. Similarly, there and there. Often when we speak, these two sound alike anyhow. So honestly, this one, I wouldn't stress it. But t and two, definitely. Okay? We're going to refer you. You need to take 2 tablets twice a day. All right? But yes, sometimes you do hear too. Now, in case there are people who are typing in and asking questions, I don't have a second person asking the questions, but what I will do is I'll be finishing in a couple minutes. I'll go through your questions again. So if you've typed in questions, I'll be able to answer them then. Affect versus effect. So you have headaches, you say. How do they affect you? How do they affect you? Right. However, are you having any side effects from the medication? How does the medication affect you? Are you having any side effects from the medication? These are 2 different words, 2 different sounds. Now, bowel and bowl, bowl and bowel, I like. Are you having any bowl problems? No, a bowl is a dish. Okay, it's a dish. Are you having any bowel problems? So are you having any bowel problems? Are you having any bowel problems? Okay. Accept, accept, and expect. All right. You can expect a call from the doctor in 2 days. Expect. So you're saying that you have, you were having no problems before this, except occasional headaches. Is that correct? Except. Loose and lose. To lose, as in, for example, weight. Okay, I want to lose weight, doctor. Or the person did lose weight. Oh, now my clothes are loose. So lose versus loose. Okay. So in watching this video, what you can do is just pause it and take a look at this. Maybe even use it with your teacher to understand the difference between sauce and source, horse and horse, aunt and aren't, raise and rise. very similar words, sounding words, but they're different, and make sure your pronunciation gets that. And then I call these crazy words because they're hard even for native English speakers. Deteriorate, itinerary, February, nuclear, phenomenon, and specific, not Pacific, specific. My advice to you is if you have problems saying these words honestly in your speaking, avoid them because they mess up even English speakers. Okay? But if you want to and you're up to a challenge, by all means, give it a go. All right. So once again, just to round off, this is my last slide. The interlocutor is not the examiner. Please remember that. Your interlocutor is playing a role. They are trained to guide you through the role play the part, not to overly help you, but not to take you off and sabotage you, not to throw you off your game. However, interlocutors like the examiner, the interlocutor is a person. And some of them, unfortunately, you know, they might not be the best or the easiest to work with, we should say. Maybe I shouldn't have put the word bad there, but they may not be the easiest to work with. And because you're nervous, it can throw you off your game, as we said, make you nervous, make you make mistakes. How to get over that? Prepare, 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 prepare. Practice with your tutor, practice with your teacher, practice with other OET candidates. And record yourself and listen. Record, practice, listen. Practice, listen. There's a reason why I wrote it 3 times. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. It is only through practice that you will overcome those problems. Practice with different kinds of partners, the quiet partner, the chatty partner, the abrupt partner, the one who goes, no, yes, I don't know. And practice different kinds of scenario. Is it simple information giving? Is it a difficult patient? Is it a conflict-filled interview? Like maybe the patient is resistant to what you're saying. Or is it a sensitive topic? Are they embarrassed? Don't just go with the role plays that you feel comfortable with. Specifically find out what are the most challenging role plays and do those so you master the language and your clarity and your pronunciation, even if you have a difficult situation and you don't get thrown off your game. Okay, so that's it for me. Those are my slides. So now I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes answering your questions. So just give me a minute here while I stop screen sharing and I go back to I'm not seeing any questions. So maybe I am on the wrong page. Oops. Okay. No one has any questions for me? I think I'm looking at the right page. Okay, or maybe I'm not. Help! I think I have some technical problems here, OET. I think I may not be either, I may not be on the right page. Or, oops. Okay, there we go. I think I'm on the right page now. Okay. So if there are any questions, let's see what the comments are. Here we go. Good, so I'm finally there. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Thank you for bearing with me while I felt my way around. So I'm going to start from lower down. Please give some tips to effectively use 3 minutes preparation time. Good, that's a very good question from Afa. In your 3 minutes, you want to be, a lot of people, for example, they focus straight on the task. And in doing so, they forget the setting. But the setting is there for a reason. It gives you information on how to, what should I say? On how to start, how to make the examiner aware that you understand how things, what the setting is, what is going on. So the setting tells you, for example, is this a new patient or is this a patient I've seen before? Look at that and think, okay, clearly this is a patient that's new. So I need to say, hello, my name is blah, blah, blah. May I have your name, please? Or what brings you here today? Or if it is a patient who you've seen before, because the role play says, okay, the patient has returned for, or a patient you see regularly does so and so. Then you know, okay, well, my beginning then will be more along the lines of, hi, Miss Smith, nice to see you again. How have you been since we last met? Or what brings you back today? And then you can move on to the task. You're looking at those verbs at the beginning of the task. Ask about, emphasize, stress, reassure, and asking yourself, okay, I'm reassuring someone, what kind of language I can use? I wouldn't worry. Actually, this isn't a problem. And what you can do is scribble. You don't want to write a whole sentence on the role play card, because that sentence might not be used and you've wasted time. So just write down 2, 3, at most, I usually tell my students at most 4 words. What they are triggers that just help you to remember, okay, these 4 words I want to integrate. And underline, if you're doing a paper-based test, the role play card, remember you can write on the role play card, underline, and remember you can hold the role play card and look at the role play card during the role play. So I would say that those are how to use. Pay those 3 minutes. Pay attention to the setting, think how you're going to introduce yourself, and jot down words on how to express those verbs. Emphasize, reassure, ask about, clarify. Okay. How much formal, so Elena is asking how formal she should be in speaking. It varies. I would say be on the safe side, start formally, and let the interlocutor / patient or carer guide you, Elena. So you start by saying, good morning, Mrs. Smith. I am Nurse Banfield, or I am Dr. Banfield, or I am Miss Banfield, the therapist. How may I address you? And let them say, oh, just call me Elena. Okay, so err on the safe side, start formally, and then take your tone from the interlocutor. Okay. Is this test also for psychology? Currently, psychology is not one. This is Isa. Currently, psychology is not one of the 12 OET professions that are explicit in OET. However, psychology, and I'm not sure about this, may fall under medicine. I'm not sure. My advice, Isa, is to please contact OET directly and let them guide you on maybe what profession you should do the OET under if psychology is your profession. Can you elaborate about intonation with instances? Yes, Prakash, I can. For example, let's say you are emphasizing for patients how important it is that for them to do something. Intonation, you want to stress. It is very important that you take your medication as prescribed. That's your intonation. And that's also your rhythm. Intonation can also be asking questions versus giving information. So for example, how have you been doing? Your voice goes up at the end. How have you been doing? Or you're giving information. I see that you're doing well. Good. I see that you're doing well. You say you're having problems with your treatment. You say you're having problems with your treatment. Tell me more. Tell me more. So our voice tends to go up when we're asking questions, when we're curious, and when we're giving good news. It tends to go down when we're making a statement, when we are giving factual information, when we're giving bad news. So that's an example of intonation. Hello, Divya from Saudi Arabia. Nice to meet you. Let's see what other questions we have. Oops, new comments, 5. Hold on. My screen has gone down. There we go. And Priyadeep Sharma said, my problem is I stutter and cluster. Please tell me how I can improve. As I mentioned, a little tip here, you can practice it at home, you can practice it with a teacher. I have had a couple of students that have had this problem. They stutter in their natural language. It's going to happen in English. Practicing in Metronome, it is what musicians do when they're practicing a song or when they're practicing to get their rhythm even. You can download it on your phone, or you can get an old-fashioned one at an antique shop. It's like this little triangular block of wood with a needle that goes left and right. And read English. Get a natural English text, even a novel, because you don't want to do something that's boring, okay? You want to read something that actually encourages you to read. And practice, say, maybe 5 minutes at a time. Start with 5 minutes and extend it a couple minutes every day. And do that 2-3 times a day. This is an exercise that you don't want to do it for 1 hour this week and not again next week. It is better to do, even with learning language, it's better to do a few minutes regularly every day rather than do it once. Because what you're doing is teaching your brain a new rhythm. And your brain takes a while to learn this new rhythm. So that's a tip I can give. Can you please tell me, Divya, can you please tell me about how the introduction will be in accident and emergency department? Very good question. Very good question. Because here, a good thing to do would be to convey to the examiner, the listener, that you understand that this is an emergency situation. So what you don't, there are 2 ends you don't want to do. So you don't want to do, hello, my name is Dr. Banfield. How may I address you? This scenario may very well be that the patient is short of breath and can't speak, and you're having the patient there, you know, making these long sentences. But then you also don't want to do the opposite and go, hello, you're in the emergency department. What's wrong with you? No. So there has to be a balance in between. So, hello, I'm Dr. Banfield, or I am Nurse Banfield. You're in the emergency department. Is it okay if I call you George? George, tell me what's wrong. So there, you have done that in like about 5 seconds, but you have conveyed to the examiner, I know what's going on. I understand that this is where I am and that this is an urgent situation. And I have gotten right into the role play. I have not wasted time. And my language and intelligibility, my diction is clear. Okay, so that would be a way I would say to do it. just, yeah. Okay, good. Oh, now the comments are coming faster. Let's see, new comments. Can you please tell me the name of apps that help with developing rhythm? I honestly don't know the actual name of the app, but if you look for apps and with the word metronome, and I will spell it for you. I'll actually write it in the comments now. M-E-T, metronome. Okay. I just actually posted as Alicia Banfield in the same chat. So if you look down there, and I know they exist. My husband is a hobby musician and he uses one on his phone. So I know you can download one and use it on your phone. It's called a metronome. Right. Thomas, hi Thomas, you said, suppose a child with snake bite comes to the hospital. How could I tell them what's your name, or how can I ask them what's your name? Here, the priority is settling the patient down first. Thomas, you're absolutely correct. So you've got a child, and if it's a child, of course, the role play would be you speaking to the parent, unless it's an older child, for example. 17 years old, they might have come to you. Okay. It's a snake bite. Chances are, again, this is an emergency situation. Hello, I am Dr. Thomas. Hello, I'm Nurse Thomas. Is it okay if I call you Charles? Is it okay if I call you Miss? Well, it's a child. So if it's a child and a small child, you can say, hello, Gina, okay? Hello, my name is Nurse Thomas. You are Gina's mother. Is that correct? Yes. Is it okay if I call you Miss Smith? Miss Smith, tell me what's wrong with Gina. How did she get the snake bite? How long ago was it? And just get right in. Be guided. The first topic that you introduce is guided by what is on the task. So what's the first task there you have to do? Whatever that task is, if the task says calm the mother or calm the patient down, it becomes, hello, I'm Dr. Thomas, or I'm Nurse Thomas. You're Gina's mother. May I call you Miss Smith? Hello, Gina. Don't worry. We're here to help you with the snake bite. Get right into it. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Could you please give me some tips to improve in reading part B and C? I would love to, but that's another webinar. And yeah, but that is definitely something we can do. But for now, we're just going to focus on the speaking in this session. Can I read from the sorry, again, tongue-tied. Can I read from the card when I am speaking? Rania, yes. Yes, you can. You can scribble on the role play card during that 3 minutes. You can underline things. You can make, as I said earlier, really short notes to kind of give yourself some trigger words, trigger phrases to use during the role play. And you can look at the role play card during the role play. As a matter of fact, they tell you that in the instructions, so not to worry. But also remember, you can look at the card because the examiner is only hearing you and not seeing you, and the interlocutor is not the examiner. So read the role play card, yeah, sure. But you don't want to be, and please don't do this because some of my students have done this, be so busy reading the role play card that you read everything for word, and because you're focused here, you're only half listening to what the patient is saying, okay? So practice, that's the trigger. So tell me about so and so and so and so. So you said that your pain is getting worse. Is that correct? Well, don't worry about that. We can do things for you, like I can give you medication, or I can refer you to another specialist. I can offer you brochures. You want to keep that connection so you remind yourself you're talking to another person. Listening conversation is difficult to answer. Even native speakers too can't understand. Yes. There are some accents that are very difficult to understand. This is why at the beginning of your role play, there is that 2-3 minutes where the interlocutor just asks you about your background. Tell me about your work. How long have you been a nurse? How long have you been a doctor? How long have you been an occupational therapist? This 2 to 3 minutes, even before your role play starts, is for a reason. It is to check that the recording equipment is working, let's be honest. 2, it is to get you accustomed to the interlocutor in case they have an accent different from yours, and to get the interlocutor accustomed to you. And it is also because OET knows you're nervous. They're giving you a little time to bed in, to settle in, to talking to this stranger you've never met before. Okay, so use that 3 minutes also to listen to how the interlocutor talks, how they speak, and get yourself comfortable. Okay. Gada says, can we say something other than role play card, or we need to stick to it? Gada, stick to the role play card. This is a test of English and communication, and up to a point, understanding, reading comprehension, understanding what's on the role play card. You will get no extra marks for giving technical, clinical, therapeutic information that is not on the role play card, especially if you get so into it that you're taking up time away from the role play tasks that are on the role play card. Occasionally, sometimes the interlocutor on their role play card, which you will not see, sometimes I'm looking at the clock here. Sometimes they may introduce a very small point that is not on your role play card. Like maybe they may mention, in a role play, for example, about suspected diabetes. They may say, oh, I'm worried about diabetes because my mother had diabetes. Now that is not on your role play card, on your side of the role play. So you don't spend a lot of time going, oh, tell me about your mother, and going off track. Instead you go, well, yes, so for this reason, since your mother has diabetes as well, we definitely have to be careful here in investigating, in doing your tests and treating you. Okay, so don't go off track. Take your cue from the interlocutor, but don't try to wow the examiner with your clinical knowledge. You won't get any extra marks for it, and you will waste time in covering the task. Okay. Listening is difficult for practice. Please suggest materials. Someone here from Kerala, most of my sons, yeah. So I'm going to round up. I've only got a few seconds left. I'm going to round up by saying this. I find, or what I've noticed is with the students I've dealt with, sometimes intelligibility and that clarity, speaking clearly, is a place where they lose marks because they're worried more about the grammar and covering the role play task. But intelligibility is the first criterion, and it's for 6 marks, it is worth not losing marks unnecessarily. because you're not clear, because the examiner can't understand you. Okay? So on that note, my time is up. Thank you all who participated. I'm sorry I didn't get to answer more questions. However, I will go back into the chat, answer a few if I can, a few more if I can, and you can also contact OET. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.